The client-coach relationship. Coaching is a conversation that can take place over many weeks or months as you support your client to achieve their goals. For a successful outcome, the coaching process and the relationship dynamics between you and your coachee need to be set up and managed effectively. It is crucial that you work to ensure the coach-client relationship is established properly at the outset, with a sense of trust and rapport. The coach-client relationship has a massive impact on the successful outcome of coaching. What makes a good coach-client relationship? There are many different factors that contribute to the development of a good coach-client relationship, but the list here is a good starting point. Trust, rapport, ethics, confidentiality, honesty and openness, warmth and sincerity, clear and simple language, intuitive approach, challenging, person-centered, active, responsive listening, space for silence and contemplation, reliable, fun and humour where appropriate, friendly and genuine, professional and knowledgeable, working towards the client's greater goals, curious and interested, collaboration, powerful questioning, integrity, and the client's best interest at heart. Trust. Trust is hugely important and needs to be the starting point of the coaching process and maintained throughout all ongoing communication with the client. Trust can create the sacred space required for the client to open up and discuss key areas of their life that they require the most help with. The space you create through your authenticity, trust and integrity can enable your client to completely feel at ease like never before, and you also give them permission to be their authentic self. Ethics. Confidentiality is the foundation of coaching. The co-creation of a trust-built coaching relationship opens the space for the client to reveal their deepest ambitions and dreams, along with their fears and vulnerabilities. This is not to be taken lightly, and it is important you are clear from the start, especially if working with couples or close friends and family. Your reputation may be damaged if you're not clear or if you fail to maintain your integrity around confidentiality. Your limitation of confidentiality lies around the laws of disclosure, which must be discussed at your first session. Clearly define what your legal position is to your client around issues such as law breaking, planned law breaking, abuse, or mental health issues. Integrity. Coaching should always be open and honest and deal with issues of integrity. A solid foundation built on all of the above will mean that both parties can be comfortable addressing any issues that may thwart the coaching process. An open, honest approach whereby you and your client can express feelings around what is going on or happening for them is much more beneficial than keeping it suppressed. How you present yourself and how you manage your clients will become your reputation. Your livelihood can depend on building a solid, trustworthy, dependable and professional reputation for yourself. Reliability is of the utmost importance, and you must uphold your integrity around your own goals or promises made. For example, if you say you will email information or homework, then do so. Interest. An excellent quality to employ is that of genuine interest. Asking inquisitive, direct questions to uncover the truth and challenging a limiting belief can initiate the client's thinking from a place of being stuck to one of curiosity and expanded self-discovery. Challenging a client's perspective or behaviours, especially when not in alignment to their goals, allows the client to see themselves as they really are and how their way of being is negotiating their happiness or goal. This then allows the client to move forward in an effective way. A coach should always remain positive and encouraging towards a client and should have unwavering belief and support in the client and the steps they take to achieving their set goals. You may be the only one who has the client's back, so to speak. as oftentimes you may be a last resort that they've turned to for help. This puts you in an honourable position that requires all the positive attributes discussed here. Goal-orientated. Coaching is not merely a friendly chat, so have a flexible structure in mind when working with a client. Some clients will want to tell you their story in great deal, and as much as you want the client to feel valued and heard, it can be very disorientating for both you and the client. As much as the client sets the agenda at every session based on what they want to work on that day, you must use your skills as a coach to keep the client on track. It should be your agenda to ensure an effective coaching session takes place, and this can be done by setting a clear intention for the purpose and the outcome of the session. You need to learn how to refocus clients that go off on a tangent. Challenge them to take a reframe on their limiting beliefs and be able to call out any contradictions you see in their attitudes and behaviours. Coaching does not claim to fix all, but it does follow a solution-focused process with the client at the core, encouraging and supporting the client to take positive action and gently challenging those clients with behaviours that do not align with their goals. Being actively present. Being actively present with your client means you will be practicing the skills of rapport, actively listening, asking powerful questions, challenging, reflecting, clarifying and feeding back. Give your full attention and demonstrate this through body language and other communication signals, along with reflecting back to the client what they have just said. This shows an undeniable act of being fully present for your client, which can have a huge positive impact on their well-being and motivation levels. If your client seems stuck or is contradicting themselves, a simple reflection back to them for clarification can give them that aha moment. Quite often when a client hears back what they have just said, they get clarity on what they really want, or on how what they are doing is not in alignment with what they are saying. Most people don't know how to move forward because their vision of the situation is clouded and unclear. They may talk about the situation with a state of confusion and doubt. Once you work to help clear the confusion, a natural unfolding of clarity and certainty will appear. Silence. One of the most powerful tools you have as a coach is being able to be silent. Most often, people try to avoid silences, and as a coach may feel the need to fill up the time or any empty voids with talking or asking questions. This absolutely is not necessary, as silence allows the client space and time to process whatever they need to in that moment. In this space, significant breakthroughs or understanding about their situation and ways to move forward can occur. Silence also allows the client to connect with their emotions, and constant talking can be a deferral tactic to avoid going there. The importance of creating a safe, sacred space for the client to feel able to express their emotions without fear or judgment, opinions or criticism is not to be taken lightly. Silence may mean the client has recalled a memory by entering deep into introspection. You may need to give your client time to reflect and digest what has just happened. If the silence continues for too long, you may need to ask your client what they are thinking, or would they be okay to share what that has just brought up for them. Silence can feel like a long time, but be patient. In this silence, deep shifts can occur, and any interruption from you could disturb that process, so be patient. Building rapport with your client. Rapport is akin to an invisible cord of connection that runs between you and your client during sessions. The connection you make with them at the beginning of every coaching session sets the tone for that session. Having a good rapport will give your client the motivation to set goals and action the changes. What is rapport? Rapport is simply a feeling of being in tune or in resonance with someone. You may describe yourself and one of your friends as being on the same page or on the same wavelength. When you are in the company of a good friend, you may feel supported by their presence and trust they have the best intentions towards you. I'm not suggesting that you need to make friends with your client, as rapport and likability aren't the same thing. But there must be a commonality between you, so your client can feel that you are working together for the common good of the client, and that your coaching is based on a shared desire to see the client succeed. How do you build rapport? In a sense, we experience rapport every day when we interact with our friends, colleagues, family, even the bus conductor. It is no great mystery or huge skill for you to master. It simply means being interested in the other person, and there are various ways in which you can let the other person know you're interested and that they are being heard. We are all capable of building a rapport with others, from our close friends and family members to acquaintances and new people with whom we have just met. Building a rapport allows for trust, openness and confidence of expression within the coaching or therapeutic session. Building a rapport with your client means they will feel cared for and understood, and they can trust you are listening to what they are saying. Psychologists have discovered that there are 3 elements to building rapport. 1. Mutual attention, where each person is tuning into the other. 2. Showing positive feelings which are conveyed by non-verbal messages. 3. Unconsciously responding to each other's movements and gestures. The key is simple observation, awareness and feedback. If and when it feels appropriate, you can use feedback and observation to ask what the changes meant instead of presuming you know. The more you observe and inquire, the more you will discover about your client. Remember, integrity is key, so do not be intrusive, instead be curious. There are techniques that we will discuss that, when done well, can enhance rapport, but it is important to remember that your client will pick up on anything or anyone disingenuous. So rule number 1, don't fake it. Be it. Authenticity. Be yourself. Rapport is maintained when people know what they are getting with you. Be consistent in your coaching style or approach so that people get to see the real you. Absolute no-nos in coaching. You can lose rapport if you don't follow through with your word, don't actively listen, don't pay attention, don't show interest, don't act with integrity, impose your views, assume incorrectly, judge, be opinionated, argue. Argue. A coach should never argue a point with a client. You must keep your own opinions and judgments out of the session completely. If you are of the nature where you need to be right and want people to see your point of view, this is not the role of a life coach. A coach is there to facilitate the client's journey of self-discovery, not to show or point out that you hold all the answers. Judge. One of the biggest attributes to a good coach is their ability to use non-judgment. When judgment enters the coaching session, you will instantly lose rapport and the trust of your client. If you do find yourself judging, this is gracefully showing you that you need to do some work on yourself with another coach or a supervisor. Assume. This is why it is important to clarify what your client is saying via feedback. The simple phrase, "So let me just make sure I'm understanding you correctly," is a way of avoiding making incorrect assumptions. Not listening. Coaching can be tiring and draining. You must work consciously to keep up with what is said and more so what is meant. If you do find yourself lost in the coaching session, be honest. Acknowledge that you are only human. Don't try and fake it and keep going in a state of confusion, because your client will notice it and it can damage the relationship. Impose your views. This is a bit like judging. Your views do not hold true for everyone, only you. You will damage your coach-client relationship if you impose your views or values on the client. Look for signs that indicate good or bad rapport. Body language. So what is it telling you? Body language is a powerful indicator of change. We are not looking to interpret it, as this can lead to incorrect assumptions. Instead, simply use your ability of awareness and intuition to watch for the changes that indicate any internal, emotional shifts happening for the client. Here are a few examples of body language clues to be aware of. Moving away from you. Abrupt movements. Moving towards you. Shifting or changing posture or position. Touching their face, hair or body. Shuffling, fidgeting or becoming completely still and expressionless. Sensory acuity. Watching physical changes. Sensory acuity allows you to tune into what is going on with your client, their deepest emotions, feelings, fears and anxieties, and to build a solid and secure rapport with your client. This is not about you interpreting the changes. Instead, it is more about having the awareness that it's happening, and where appropriate, you can respond to them. For example, a flushing of the face can change in breathing. A shuffle in a chair or disconnection of eye contact can help us tune into our client's emotional state. Areas where changes can take place. Skin tone, could be blushing or blanching, can indicate a change in an emotional state. Muscle tension, a tightening of the jaw, a frown, a clenched fist, shoulders tightening, can all indicate an emotional reaction. Breathing, depending on the client's normal breathing state, be it shallow or deep, a change in rhythm or location. Chest, usually if excitable, low abdomen if relaxed, can indicate an emotional state or response. Eyes, excessive blinking, turning away, avoidance, pupils dilate or contract, can all be indicators of an emotional change. These are just a few common signs, and of course there will be more. As you get to know your client, you will become more aware of these subtle changes over time. You are simply looking for a change in state. For example, a client may start a session relaxed, breathing at a slow, relaxed pace with occasional blinking and relaxed shoulders, with open palms resting on her lap. During the session, her breathing becomes rapid and her eyes start to blink more. Her arms are folded and her shoulders lifted. This would indicate a client who has become defensive, angry or frustrated. They may maintain that there is no problem, but the physiological changes give you a clue that this is not as it seems. Matching and mirroring. You can deliberately create the third way of building rapport through a clever process called matching and mirroring. It is proven that we all like people who are like ourselves in looks, traits and personality. So physically matching and mirroring the body language of the other person can instantly start to build a solid and secure rapport. Look at your client's body language and posture. Do not mimic your client, as this is obvious and off-putting. However, you can mirror and match their gestures in a subtle way. For example, if your client crosses their legs, you may wish to cross yours also. If your client takes a drink, then you may also wish to have a drink at the same time. Notice what type of language your client uses. Try to adopt some of their language or a selection of their choice of words. This is also an effective way to clarify understanding and prevent any possible miscommunication. As a result, your client is more likely to know that they have been heard and understood. Matching your client's breathing can be very powerful. Your client will breathe in tune with you if you match and then lead a rhythmic breathing pattern. This is extremely useful if your client is particularly anxious. Take a moment to think about certain personality traits and typical examples of body language. Make a note on a separate piece of paper and keep referring to it to see if you can add more. For example, voice, tone and pitch. Does your client lean forward or back, cross their legs? Can they meet your eyes? Listening skills and effective questioning. Actively listening takes listening to a different level. Listening to your clients makes a good coach. Listening actively to your clients makes you a great coach. Remember, it is important that you spend more time listening than talking. When we are engaged in our everyday activities, it is too easy for us to become distracted and sidetracked by our own thoughts and opinions. So when you're coaching and working with your clients, it is important that the session belongs to the client. It is their opportunity to talk and unburden in a safe and secure environment. Actively listening to your clients means that you are focused on their individual needs, opinions, concerns and issues, and you are not distracted by your own opinions, judgments or feelings. Listening to understand your client, and you are understanding their feelings and emotions. Sometimes what is not said is just as important as what is said. So read between the lines, recap by repeating back to your client a summary of what they have said. This further endorses you have actively listened to them. Giving your client the space and setting the environment for them to talk freely and explore without fear of judgment or interruption. Aware of your client's needs, requirements and wants, and you intuitively know what questions to ask. Techniques for co-creating the client relationship. Coaching successfully requires many skills. Coaching itself is a profession, and whilst it does not require any specific theoretical knowledge, it does require you to develop an array of essential people skills. Some of the most precious coaching tools and skills you can develop are listed below. Sadly, these skills are often acknowledged by coaches, but then underestimated as to their individual importance. Used regularly at the beginning of a coaching session, they are brushed aside by the average coach who rapidly becomes too involved in the client and asks too many questions without focusing on the information provided. When the following tools and skills are used in their most basic form, they provide an essential basis for encouraging your clients to speak about their lives, their feelings, their problems and their ambitions. However, when they are used deeply and sensitively, they are crucial in helping to develop your client-coach relationship and in helping your client to move forward for themselves. Listening. Listening actively and warmly and understanding and accepting what your client is telling you. Listening without judgment and neither agreeing nor disagreeing. Asking for permission before you interrupt your client mid-flow. This demonstrates respect for your client. Silence. Knowing when to be silent is much a skill as knowing what to say and when. Not intervening in your client's dialogue is as important as the advice you provide. Your body language. Reading your client's body language is one thing, but your client will also subconsciously read yours too. Sitting up straight and not slouching shows you're interested in what they are saying. Your posture reflects the quality of your listening attitude. Your overall demeanour and body language is indicative of whether or not you're fully listening, fully present, and fully engaged. Eye contact. A competent and confident coach will maintain eye contact with their client. Maintaining eye contact is an important skill to develop, as it is something which doesn't come naturally to everyone. Maintaining eye contact reassures the client that you are interested and keen to develop a working relationship. Nodding. We all know that nodding our head in rhythm to another person's speech shows acceptance and presence. Naturally, nodding demonstrates to your client that you are listening to them. However, be aware of nodding too much. Repetition of key words. Picking up on one or two keywords in your client's dialogue could help to elicit further elaboration and also demonstrate your active listening. For example, "I am anxious about this." You would say "anxious?" as a theoretical question to encourage your client to expound upon why they are anxious. Question your client further on their choice of certain keywords. For example, "Please can you tell me more about why you are anxious?" Positive reinforcement and encouragement. Even as adults, we like nothing more than being praised for a job well done. Positive reinforcement is considered to be supportive and motivational, so offer your client support and motivational comments such as "I admire your honesty," or "That's great work," or "You're making excellent progress, well done." Security and validation. Provide a secure environment for your client to offload. Create a space for your client to explore their problems and find solutions and to accept who they are. Even simple statements such as "I know what you mean" can offer the security and validation required. Person-centered approach. A successful coach will follow the person-centered approach. We start from the basis that people are not broken. They are whole and perfect as they are. They may not be completely happy, but they are not broken in themselves. They are just thinking, feeling, acting more or maybe less effectively at any given time. Clients learn and sustain a new way of being when self-discovery takes place. Through coaching, a client can learn to successfully find their own solutions and develop new positive habits, helped by observation-based feedback, effective questioning, good rapport, and solution-focused coaching sessions. Person-centered at the core. Carl Rogers, an American psychologist, pioneered person-centered therapy in the 1950s. Person-centered principles are the fundamental basis of all transformational coaching. These principles are: 1. Openness to experience and challenge. 2. Living in the moment and enjoying experiences. 3. Trusting one's own judgment and ability to choose effective behaviour. 4. Freedom of choice and being responsible for one's own choices. 5. Expression and creativity in whichever field of life is important. 6. The ability to rely on one's own internal consistency. 7. A full life with riches of experience. These principles highlight that the client is always at the core of coaching sessions. Let the client lead. When you coach clients, the sessions are always led by what they want as an outcome from the coaching session with you. The agenda is always to work with whatever the client presents at each session, not what you want to work on. Working with the person-centered principles, always remember the client is not broken. They are whole and perfect as they are, and they can find their own solutions to their problems with your coaching sessions as a guidance system. You do not hold the answers for them, but they do. Your way of coaching using effective questions, challenging limiting beliefs, trust, rapport, and solution-focused goal setting will bring out the best in them. Your greatest teacher will be your clients. and always be prepared to work on yourself with love and kindness should you notice any judgment or emotional triggers creeping in. Coaching can bring about lasting and transformative change within a client. You need to allow this to unfold naturally, keeping the client's needs at the core of every session. If you hold your own agenda based on what you think you should be doing or achieving with the client, the outcome will not be of the greatest benefit to the client.